The gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams disappear. It's not that people don't know what to do, it's that they don't do what they know. Knowledge has become the new comfort zone. We live in a time where people can quote success principles, post motivational quotes, and recite scriptures about abundance, yet their lives remain stuck in the same place year after year. The tragedy is not ignorance, it's inaction. Knowing without doing is deception. It gives you the illusion of progress without the evidence of results. You can listen to every sermon, attend every seminar, and read every book, but until you translate that knowledge into movement, nothing changes. People think the gap between their dream and their reality is a lack of information, but in truth, it's a lack of implementation. The enemy of your next level is not ignorance, it's delay. Every day you say, I'll start tomorrow, your dream dies a little more. You don't need another course. You don't need another strategy. You need to move with what you already know. Most people fall in love with preparation but never get to execution. They talk about what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and why they haven't done it yet. They confuse planning with progress. You can plan forever, but until your feet move, your future stands still. The comfort of knowing feels good because it keeps you safe from failure, rejection, and discomfort. But the cost of doing is the price every dreamer must pay to turn potential into performance. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll wait forever. Growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from commitment. Doing is messy. It's uncomfortable. You'll make mistakes. But that's the only way transformation happens. You can't read your way into success, you must act your way into it. Every great vision requires courage to take imperfect action. Some people say they're waiting on God, but God is waiting on them. Faith without works is dead because faith isn't just believing, it's moving. When God gave you a dream, He didn't give you the finished product, He gave you the seed. And seeds only grow when you put them in the ground and water them with consistent action. Every instruction you ignore delays your destiny. Every idea you fail to act on moves someone else closer to the opportunity that was meant for you. Delayed action destroys momentum. The longer you wait to do what you know you should do, the easier it becomes not to do it. The mind starts making excuses, the heart grows weary, and before long you start doubting the very vision that once set your soul on fire. But when you move, even if you move afraid, God meets your motion with multiplication. The miracle doesn't happen in your knowing, it happens in your doing. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and becoming. It's not what you do once that changes your life, it's what you do repeatedly. When you show up every day, even when you don't feel like it, you train your spirit to lead your flesh. You stop letting emotions dictate your execution. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it commands what you will do. Results are not a mystery, they are a mirror of your habits. If you want different results, you must create different routines. You don't become successful by occasional effort, you become successful by consistent obedience. The small things you do daily are shaping the big things you dream of. Every act of doing builds momentum. Every step forward builds confidence, and every consistent action closes the gap between what you know and what you want to experience. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who know and those who do. Knowing makes you informed. Doing makes you transformed. You don't get rewarded for information. You get rewarded for implementation. Your dream doesn't disappear because God didn't bless it. It disappears because you didn't build it. The world doesn't need more people who know what to do. It needs more people who do what they know. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop analyzing what you already understand. Stop hiding behind preparation and start producing. Move with what you have, start where you are, and trust that obedience will reveal the rest. The gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams disappear, but it's also where miracles are born. If you're bold enough to act, your dream is waiting for your decision. Your destiny is waiting for your discipline. Your promise is waiting for your performance. Don't die in the gap. Cross it. With faith, action, and relentless consistency, information doesn't equal transformation. You can gather knowledge all day long, but until you act on it, it remains powerless. So many people are walking libraries filled with wisdom, lessons, and revelations, but empty of results. You can memorize success principles, quote scriptures about prosperity, and understand every strategy for growth, yet if you never move on that understanding, it will never manifest in your life. Information is potential power, not actual power. Transformation only begins when information becomes application. You can't expect God to bless what you refuse to build. Hearing truth doesn't change you, doing truth does. Every time you hear a principle and fail to apply it, your faith weakens just a little because your mind starts believing that knowing is enough. But it's not. The real test of wisdom is not what you can repeat, it's what you can reproduce. Transformation demands obedience, not just awareness. There are people who've been learning for years, waiting for some new revelation when the last instruction they received still hasn't been acted upon. Knowledge is not the bottleneck, action is. You don't need another confirmation, you need commitment. You don't need another word, you need to work the word you already have. Information fills your mind, but obedience fills your life with fruit. The people who change their world are not those who know the most. They are those who do the most with what they know. God doesn't anoint potential, he anoints motion. The blessing doesn't fall on the one who heard, it falls on the one who did. Transformation is proof that your knowledge has become alive. Until your behavior changes, your belief hasn't truly matured. Real growth is not shown in what you learn, it's shown in what you live. Because what you live reveals what you actually believe. You can't study your way into a new season. You have to step into it. You can't just receive the word. You have to respond to it. So stop chasing more information and start applying the revelation you already possess. Stop waiting for a breakthrough when you haven't yet broken through your own resistance to action. The change you're praying for is hidden inside the steps you keep postponing. Information will fill your head, but only action will transform your life. The comfort of knowing feels safe because it doesn't require risk. It allows you to talk about success without confronting the pain of growth. You can sit in the safety of understanding principles, discussing ideas, and imagining outcomes without ever facing rejection, failure, or criticism. Knowing feels productive. It tricks your mind into believing you're making progress simply because you're thinking about it. But comfort is the silent killer of dreams. It keeps you learning instead of launching, preparing instead of performing, and planning instead of producing. Doing, on the other hand, always comes with a cost. The cost of doing is the price you pay for transformation. When you step out to act, you expose yourself to uncertainty. You might fail, you might be misunderstood, you might be stretched beyond what you think you can handle. But that's the only way destiny develops you. Growth never happens in comfort, it happens in challenge. God uses doing to refine your faith, to sharpen your discipline, and to teach you trust. Many people never step into their calling because they fear the cost. They're afraid of being judged, afraid of losing comfort, afraid of starting small or looking foolish. But the truth is, the cost of doing is temporary, while the cost of not doing is eternal. You can recover from a mistake, but you can't recover from never trying. You can learn from a failure, but you can't learn from hesitation. The pain of obedience is always less than the pain of regret. The comfort of knowing will tell you to wait until the time is right, but the time will never feel right. The cost of doing will demand you move now, even when everything in you screams, I'm not ready. But readiness doesn't come before obedience. It comes through obedience. When you step out in faith, you activate grace. When you act in alignment with what you know, doors begin to open that information alone could never unlock. Every achiever, every visionary, every world changer has felt that same tension, the pull between knowing and doing. But the ones who rise are the ones who choose the cost of doing over the comfort of knowing, because they understand that comfort keeps you the same, but cost creates change. You can't have both destiny and comfort. You must decide which one you want more. The comfort of knowing keeps you in theory. The cost of doing brings you into testimony. Knowing gives you potential. Doing gives you power. And until you're willing to pay the price of action, your knowledge will never become transformation. The dream you carry will never live beyond your comfort zone. Delayed action destroys momentum. Every time you hesitate, the energy that once burned inside you begins to fade. The vision that once felt alive starts to feel distant. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move. Delay is not neutral. It drains faith, weakens focus, and breeds doubt. What begins as I'll do it soon turns into maybe one day, and maybe one day becomes it's too late. Dreams don't die because God changes his mind. They die because we stop moving when he said go. Momentum is a spiritual force. Once you start moving toward your purpose, heaven begins to align resources, people, and opportunities in your direction. But when you stop, everything that was moving with you slows down. Divine momentum responds to motion, not intention. You can't maintain momentum through thinking. You maintain it through doing. Action keeps the vision alive. Hesitation puts it on life support. When God gives you an idea, a calling, or an instruction, it carries a specific timing. Every divine opportunity has an expiration date, not because God withdraws it, but because the environment changes. The people, the circumstances, and the openings that were aligned with your yes begin to shift when you delay. What was once easy becomes hard. What once flowed begins to fight against you, because the window for favor is connected to obedience and time. Procrastination disguises itself as wisdom. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, the perfect plan, or a clearer sign. But most delays aren't divine. They're distractions. Every moment you postpone obedience, the voice of doubt grows louder. Velocity that carries you further than effort alone ever could. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start creating it. The power you're praying for is on the other side of your next step. Delayed action doesn't just slow your dream, it suffocates it. But decisive action breathes life into your purpose. Every second you hesitate, your destiny drifts further away. The miracle isn't waiting, it's moving. And it's waiting for you to move with it. Discipline bridges the gap between intention and manifestation. It's the invisible force that turns vision into victory. Everyone wants results, but few are willing to do what results require: consistency. Discipline is not about feeling motivated. It's about being committed even when motivation is gone. It's what keeps you moving when the excitement fades, when the applause stops, and when no one is watching. Discipline doesn't ask, do I feel like it? It declares, I'll do it because it must be done. The truth is, dreams don't disappear because they're impossible. They disappear because people stop doing what's necessary to sustain them. Discipline is the daily decision to keep your commitment long after the feeling that made it has passed. It's the system that supports your success when your emotions can't. Without discipline, passion is just potential energy. It burns bright but burns out quickly. With discipline, passion becomes progress. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It guards your purpose from distraction. It shields your focus from temptation. It keeps your future safe from your present impulses. When you're disciplined, you don't live by how you feel. You live by what you've decided. Feelings are temporary, but destiny is eternal. And the bridge between them is daily obedience. Some people pray for breakthroughs, but they ignore the simple disciplines that create breakthroughs: prayer, planning, persistence, and personal growth. You can't pray for open doors while refusing to walk through the ones already open. Discipline is the proof that you're serious about your calling. God can't bless inconsistency because inconsistency shows instability. The blessing requires structure. And discipline is that structure. Every great achiever has one thing in common: can't see the outcome. It's stepping forward when your logic says, stay still. You can't say you're believing for a harvest and never plant a seed. You can't say you're believing for a breakthrough and never break through your own hesitation. Faith demands participation. It's a partnership between divine instruction and human obedience. God gives the word, but you must walk it out. Too many people sit and wait for God to do everything, not realizing he's already given them what they need to begin. You don't need the whole plan to take the first step. God reveals direction through movement. When you move in faith, you activate favor. When you act, heaven responds. But when you stay still, heaven stays silent. Miracles manifest in motion, not in maintenance. The Red Sea didn't part when Moses prayed. It parted when he stretched his hand. Faith without works is like a car without fuel. It has potential, but it's going nowhere. You can have vision, anointing, and calling, but without movement, it all remains dormant. God didn't call you to sit and wait for signs. He called you to be the sign. The moment you act in obedience, you become the vessel through which his power flows. Faith doesn't wait for evidence, it creates evidence. Sometimes people think waiting on God means doing nothing, but biblical waiting is active. It's expectation with preparation. It's moving as if the promise is already done. Noah didn't wait for rain to start building. He built until the rain came. Abraham didn't wait for all the details. He left in obedience, and the details unfolded as he walked. That's the kind of faith that pleases God. Faith that works while it waits. Every instruction from God is an invitation to participate in your own miracle. When you obey, even in small ways, you open the door for supernatural results. The walls of Jericho didn't fall because the people believed they would. They fell because the people walked in obedience. Faith that doesn't act will always admire miracles but never experience them. So stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. Stop praying for signs when you already have instructions. Move, sow, build, speak, give, forgive. Whatever the word is for your life, do it. Because the power of faith is released in motion. You can't say you trust God and stay still. You show you trust him by taking steps that only make sense if he's real. Faith without works is dead because it's the doing that gives your believing life. When your feet match your faith, heaven responds. God doesn't reward information. He rewards action born out of belief. So if you want to see what you've been praying for, stop just talking about it and start walking toward it. Faith is not just believing God can. It's moving as if he already has. Results are the fruit of repetition. Success doesn't show up because of what you do occasionally. It's born from what you do consistently. Everyone wants breakthrough, but few are willing to repeat the process long enough to produce it. You can't plant a seed once and expect a harvest every season. You have to water, nurture, and protect it again and again until it bears fruit. Repetition is the rhythm of mastery. What you repeat becomes what you reveal. Greatness isn't a single act, it's a habit that's cultivated over time. The people who rise to the top aren't necessarily the most talented, they're the most consistent. They show up on the days they don't feel inspired. They keep doing the work when no one is watching. They understand that excellence isn't built in a moment, it's built in repetition. Every time you repeat the right action, you reinforce the right mindset. Every time you show up, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you stay faithful, you grow your capacity for greatness. Repetition refines you. The first time you do something, it's uncomfortable. The second time, it's awkward. But the 10th time, it becomes natural. The 100th time, it becomes effortless. That's how transformation happens. You practice until what was once hard becomes instinct. You can't skip the process of repetition and expect the promise of results. God blesses consistency because consistency proves faith. When you keep showing up, heaven knows you're serious. Too many people quit before the fruit appears. They start strong, but when results don't come quickly, they lose patience. But you must understand that repetition is sowing season. It doesn't look exciting, but it's essential. Every act of obedience, every hour of practice, every decision to keep going when you feel unseen is building a future harvest. The tree doesn't grow overnight, but when it does, it becomes strong enough to weather any storm. That strength comes from what was done in secret through repetition. Repetition is also the proof of belief. When you truly believe in your purpose, you don't need external motivation to keep going. You repeat the process because you trust the promise. You know that if you stay faithful, the fruit must come. God set a law in motion. Whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. The sowing must be continual if you want a continual harvest. Sporadic effort produces sporadic results. Results are predictable when repetition is intentional. If you're not getting the outcomes you desire, look at your patterns. It's not about what you hope for, it's about what you practice daily. Your habits are the prophecy of your future. You can't expect abundance while repeating inconsistency. You can't expect excellence while repeating mediocrity. What you do repeatedly defines who you become permanently. So keep doing the work. Keep speaking the word. Keep showing up in faith. Don't get weary in well-doing because the fruit always grows beneath the surface before it's seen. Creates momentum, and momentum creates miracles. Every act of faith compounds. Every step of obedience builds spiritual velocity. Results don't come to the talented, they come to the tenacious. Because repetition isn't boring when you understand it's building your blessing. Results are not luck, they're legacy. They are the evidence of repeated obedience, daily discipline, and unwavering belief. So if you want a different harvest, plant different habits. Be faithful in repetition, and the fruit will follow. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you produce. Repetition is the soil where results are born. Everything you've ever dreamed of lives on the other side of doing what you already know to do. The gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams disappear. Not because people aren't capable, but because they never cross that bridge of action. Knowledge is important, but it's not transformation. Comfort feels good, but it keeps you small. Delay feels harmless, but it kills momentum. And without discipline, faith, and repetition, your potential remains buried beneath good intentions. The truth is, God never called you to just know. He called you to move. He didn't give you a dream to admire. He gave it to you to activate. Every principle, every promise, every piece of wisdom you've gathered was never meant to sit in your mind. It was meant to be lived through your motion. Your faith was designed to walk, not wait. Your calling was designed to work, not wander. Discipline is the bridge that carries you from theory to testimony. Faith is the force that gives your steps power. Repetition is the rhythm that builds lasting results. When you align what you know with what you do, heaven aligns what you need with what you have. That's where transformation happens. That's where destiny begins to unfold. So today, make the decision to close the gap. Stop waiting for perfect timing and start walking in perfect obedience. Stop talking about potential and start producing fruit. God has already placed the promise within you, but it's your responsibility to bring it forth. The world doesn't change because of what people know. It changes because of what people do. Don't let your dream die in the gap. Don't let your purpose fade in hesitation. Move with boldness. Act with faith. Repeat with consistency. And watch how God multiplies your motion into miracles. Because the moment you stop just knowing and start doing, that's the moment your life begins to transform.